Investigator Augusto Lacerda had listened to hundreds of cockpit recordings. Panicked voices, piercing alarms, screams cut short by impact. When he pressed play on Flight 702, he expected more of the same. Instead, he heard routine. Technical phrases, numbers confirmed, the steady hum of engines. Nothing unusual, until just over 4 minutes before the end of the recording. The captain was speaking quietly, clearly, not to the co-pilot, not to air traffic control. It sounded like he was speaking to himself. Augusto tilted his head and increased the volume. The sentence was short, calm, not emotional, not confused, just aware. When it ended, there were pause. Too long, too accidental, too subtle for anyone not paying attention. Augusto looked at the investigator beside him. "Did you hear that?" "I did." No one wrote anything down. The audio kept playing, the aircraft kept flying. But Augusto felt a chill that didn't match the data on the screen. Because accidents don't start when everything goes wrong. Sometimes they start when someone notices something and chooses not to act. Captain Enrique Duarte arrived at the airport 2 hours early. He liked walking through the terminal before dawn, watching ground crews move slowly under artificial lights. He greeted the mechanic by name, commented on the cold, drank coffee that was far too strong. Nothing about him suggested anxiety. Still, as he reviewed the flight documents, he reread the same page 3 times. First Officer Marcos Azevedo entered the cockpit with the energy of someone eager to finish a shift. "Smooth flight today," he said, dropping his bag. Enrique nodded. Marcos noticed, but didn't comment. Veteran pilots had their quirks. During the checklist, Enrique interrupted twice to confirm items already verified. Pressure, normal. Temperature, within limits. Marcos exhaled. "Enrique, everything's fine, I know," Enrique replied, but his voice didn't sound convinced. In the cabin, lead flight attendant Aina handed out practiced smiles. A man complained about his seat. A child asked how long the flight would take. A woman typed long messages before switching her phone to airplane mode. Ordinary life, small problems. As the aircraft began taxiing, Enrique rested his hand on the panel and murmured something barely audible. Marcos pretended not to hear. Sometimes, ignoring things was the easiest way to keep moving. The climb was smooth. City lights faded into darkness. Marcos engaged the autopilot and stretched his shoulders. "Now, we just monitor," he said. Enrique didn't respond. His eyes stayed fixed on the artificial horizon. Minutes passed in silence. Only engine noise and the occasional click of adjustments. Marcos tried small talk, vacations, a new simulator he wanted to test. Enrique nodded but didn't engage. His gaze kept drifting toward the windshield as if searching for something that wasn't there. Then Enrique spoke. "Marcos, do you feel that?" Marcos gave a nervous laugh. "Feel what?" "It's smooth." "Exactly," Enrique said. Marcos turned toward him. "All readings are perfect." Sometimes Enrique replied. "The problem doesn't show up in the numbers." A chill ran through Marcos. "Should I call the tower?" Enrique hesitated. "Not yet." At that moment, Aina felt a slight tilt, barely noticeable. Still, her body reacted before her mind. She stopped in the aisle, gripping a seat back, frozen for a few seconds before forcing herself to move on. The voice recorder captured everything. A chair sliding. A switch clicking. Then Enrique's voice, calm and clear. So this is how it happens. Marcos turned sharply. What do you mean? Enrique didn't answer right away. He stared at the instruments as if confirming a long-held suspicion. Enrique, talk to me, Marcos insisted. Enrique looked at him. His eyes showed no fear, only acceptance. There's no point correcting it, he said. We're past the point where that matters. Marcus's heart raced. Are you saying we've lost control? Enrique shook his head. No, I'm saying we never had it. Silence filled the cockpit, heavy, suffocating. Marcos opened his mouth but couldn't speak. In the cabin, a child began crying for no clear reason. The mother grew irritated. A man complained loudly. Aina asked for calm, her hands sweating as the communicator weighed heavily in her pocket. Marcos finally shouted, "This doesn't make sense." Enrique replied softly, "It does. Just not the way you were taught." The tower called. Flight 702, confirm position. Marcos answered too quickly. Position confirmed. Everything normal. Enrique closed his eyes for a brief moment as if the lie was necessary. When he opened them, he slowly moved his hand away from the controls. "You take it," he said. "No," Marcos protested. "You're not making sense." Enrique turned to him with a firmness that ended the discussion. "If you keep trying to fix it, you'll make it worse. Listen." Marcos felt the ground disappear beneath him. Every instinct told him to act, to correct, to fight the failure. "What did you see?" he asked, almost pleading. Enrique hesitated. "Something that won't appear later." In the cabin, Aina finally pressed the communicator. Cabin calling cockpit. No response. Passengers began to sense it. Whispers grew. A man stood up. "What's happening?" Aina tried to smile, but her voice wavered. The recorder captured heavy breathing. A muffled no, no. And then Enrique's final words, spoken with unsettling calm. "Now it makes sense." The wreckage was found scattered, as if the impact had been decided long before it occurred. The technical report cited disorientation, human error, a chain of small failures. Clean words for a messy ending. Neither Marcos nor Enrique survived. Augusto listened to the audio one last time before signing the final report. He paused at the sentence, closed his eyes. "If we include this, we open questions with no answers," his supervisor said. Augusto took a breath. "Then we don't include it." The report was published. The media talked for a few days, then forgot. Augusto didn't. Some nights he still heard that voice, too calm, too certain. He knew accidents happen. But he also knew this wasn't just an error, it was a decision. And decisions leave traces, even when no one wants to follow them. Reports explain what failed. They don't explain the moment someone realizes failure no longer matters. That sentence in the cockpit wasn't fear, it was understanding. Maybe Enrique saw something inevitable. Maybe he simply accepted it before anyone else. Flight 702 ended in silence. But sometimes, silence is the most revealing part of the story. And that's exactly where the line of silence begins